The rain hammered the roof like 1,000 accusations, each drop echoing the regret I'd carried across an ocean. I pressed my palms against the cold glass of the classroom window, watching the janitor's silhouette fade into the storm, his words still ringing. Everyone's gone. The lock clicked shut behind me, sealing not just the door, but the fragile life I'd built in this forgotten corner of Spain. My name is Melody Harper, and at 28, I'd come to the sun-baked hills of Andalusia chasing ghosts, or maybe running from them. Back in Seattle, my days blurred into a haze of corporate emails and empty apartments, the kind of life that promised everything and delivered only the echo of my own footsteps. I'd always known I was different, drawn to the soft curves of women in a world that pretended otherwise, but love? That had been a casualty of too many half-hearted swipes on apps, and one disastrous engagement to a man who never quite saw me. So 6 months ago, I'd sold my beat-up Subaru, packed a duffel with sundresses and dog-eared novels, and boarded a flight to Malaga. Teaching English to wide-eyed kids in a crumbling village school seemed like the perfect reinvention. Olive groves by day, tapas and anonymity by night. But reinvention has a way of mocking you. The school, a relic from Franco's era with peeling frescoes and desks scarred by generations, was my sanctuary until tonight. I'd stayed late grading papers, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets, lost in the rhythm of red ink on lined sheets. Señor Ruiz, the janitor with his perpetual scowl and cigarette-stained fingers, had poked his head in around 8. Todos han ido, señorita. He'd grumbled in his thick accent. Everyone's gone. I waved him off, buried in my work, and didn't hear the outer door slam until thunder rattled the panes. Now the storm raged outside, turning the courtyard into a swirling soup of mud and fallen figs. I rattled the handle. Solid iron, unyielding. My phone? Dead battery, charger forgotten in my rush from the morning commute. Panic clawed at my throat, but I swallowed it down. Think, Melody. The school backed onto the cliffs, a labyrinth of hallways leading to, what? A basement boiler room? The old bell tower? I'd only explored the classrooms, too respectful or too timid to pry. I grabbed my satchel, flashlight app useless without juice, and fumbled for the Bic lighter I'd bummed from a student earlier that week. It flickered to life, casting jittery shadows as I crept down the corridor. The air grew thicker, laced with the musty scent of damp stone and forgotten chalk. Doors creaked open to empty rooms. Blackboards smeared with half-erased conjugations, chairs tipped like drunken soldiers. My heart pounded in sync with the rain, each step a reminder of how alone I was. Not just here but everywhere. A noise stopped me cold. Not thunder but a scrape like boots on tile. Hello. My voice cracked, swallowed by the echo. Silence. Then again. A low murmur, words too muffled to catch. I edged toward the sound, lighter held high like a talisman. The janitor's office? No, farther back, near the auditorium we'd used for assemblies. The door hung ajar, spilling a sliver of warmer light. Candlelight? Pushing inside, I froze. There, huddled on the stage amid stacks of dusty props, sat a woman. She couldn't have been more than 30, her long chestnut hair spilling over one shoulder like a waterfall at dusk, damp from the leak in the roof. She wore a leather jacket slick with rain, jeans torn at the knee, and boots caked in mud. In her lap rested a sketch pad, charcoal smudges on her fingers betraying her trade. She looked up, blue eyes sharp as sea glass, and for a moment the world narrowed to just us, two strangers in a storm-locked tomb. You too, she said, her voice carrying a faint drawl, southern maybe, laced with wry amusement. Not Spanish. American. I nodded, throat dry. Janitor locked up early. Phone's dead. You. Slipped in through the side door during the downpour. Thought I could wait it out. Sketched the gargoyles on the facade. She tilted her head, studying me with an intensity that made my cheeks warm. Name's Scarlett. Scarlett Reyes. Artist, wanderer, occasional pain in the ass. Melody Harper. English teacher. Currently starring in my own bad horror flick. I managed a laugh, sinking onto a prop crate beside her. Up close, she smelled of rain and sandalwood, her presence a quiet anchor in the chaos. We talked as the storm howled, words tumbling out like the water outside. Scarlett had washed up in the village 3 months back, fleeing a gallery scandal in New York. Something about a patron's jealous wife and a shattered canvas. Art's like love, she said, flipping her sketchpad to show a half-finished portrait of the village fountain. All swirling lines in captured light. Beautiful until someone smashes it. Her fingers brushed mine as she passed the page. A spark that had nothing to do with static. I told her about Seattle's gray skies, the fiancé who'd proposed with a ring that felt like a noose, the quiet ache of loving women in a family that quoted Bible verses at dinner. I came here to breathe, I admitted, staring at the flickering candle. But mostly, I'm just holding my breath. By midnight, the rain eased to a patter, and we'd pried open a window with a prop sword from some long-forgotten play. Scarlett hoisted me out first, her hand steady on my waist, lingering just a beat too long. We tumbled into the courtyard laughing like kids, mud splattering our legs. "Coffee tomorrow?" she asked, wiping a streak from my cheek. "My treat. There's a place by the cliffs. Best Cordoue in Andalusia." I said yes, and as she vanished into the night, her silhouette etched against the lightning's afterglow, I wondered if fate had locked that door on purpose. That coffee turned into lunches, then sunset walks along the coastal paths where wild thyme perfumed the air, and the Mediterranean stretched like a promise. Scarlett was a force, bold sketches pinned to cafe walls, stories of dive bars in Austin and midnight trains through the Rockies. She painted me once unasked during a picnic under cork oaks. My hair windswept, eyes crinkled in laughter, a woman finally seen. "Your light breaking through clouds," she murmured, packing away her easel. Her touch was electric, a graze of knuckles here, a shared umbrella there building like the tide. But drama shadows romance, especially when roots run deep and twisted. Scarlett's laugh hid shadows. She dodged questions about family, her gaze drifting to the horizon like she expected a storm. I learned in fragments. A mother lost to cancer when she was 16, a father who drank himself into silence, an ex in Brooklyn who'd promised forever and delivered a Dear Jane letter via text. "Love's a con," she'd say, but her eyes softened around me, pulling me closer. We kissed for the first time on a ferry to Gibraltar, the rock looming like a sentinel as dolphins arced beside us. Salt spray mingled with the taste of her, sweet, urgent, alive. "I've wanted this since the auditorium," she whispered against my lips, her hands framing my face. It was tender, exploratory, two souls docking after a long voyage. No rush, no demands, just us unfolding. Back in the village, our world shrank to stolen moments. Her studio above the bakery, smelling of turpentine and fresh bread. My tiny apartment with its balcony view of terracotta roofs. We cooked paella on lazy Sundays, her teaching me to layer saffron like secrets. Me reading her poetry from Lorca, lines about gypsy loves and moonlit duels. It felt American in its rawness. The vulnerability of sharing scars, the romance of road trip dreams whispered in the dark. We'd talk about going home together, me to the Pacific Northwest, her to some sun-drenched Southwest town, building a life of canvases and classrooms. Yet cracks formed. Whispers in the market. Scarlett seen arguing with a woman from Malaga, tall and elegant, with a silver locket glinting like accusation. Elena, they called her, Scarlett's old flame, a curator who'd followed her across the strait. "Just business," Scarlett dismissed when I asked, but her sketchpad filled with erased faces, frustration etched in every stroke. The conflict crested in late summer, heat shimmering off the stones like fever dreams. I'd planned a surprise. A drive to Rhonda, the bridge-straddled gorge where Hemingway once wandered. But as I waited at her studio, a knock came, not mine. Through the cracked door I saw them. Scarlett and Elena, voices low and laced with history. "You left me for this?" Elena hissed, gesturing at a canvas half hidden. A portrait of me, unfinished, intimate. Scarlett's reply shattered me. "It wasn't like that. You know it wasn't." But the way Elena's hand lingered on her arm, the shared glance heavy with unresolved fire. It was betrayal, not of body but of heart. She'd kept Elena's shadow alive. A ghost I'd unknowingly haunted. I fled, tears blurring the road, the rental car fishtailing on hairpin turns. By nightfall I was back at the school, the auditorium our origin now a refuge of ghosts. Rain returned, softer this time, drumming a requiem. Scarlett found me there at dawn, soaked and shivering, her face a map of regret. "Melody, please." She knelt, voice breaking. "Elena's the past. A mistake I couldn't bury. But you're the first real thing I've touched in years." Words failed. Pain spoke instead. "How do I trust that?" You locked me out before we even started. We argued through the morning, accusations flying like sparks. Her fear of commitment a wall, my insecurities a moat. But beneath it the truth. Love demands risk and we'd both been cowards. By noon, as sunlight pierced the clouds, something shifted. She pulled a small box from her jacket. An old locket. Elena's empty now. I filled it with doubt, she said, pressing it into my hand. Now let's fill it with us. Forgiveness isn't a fairy tale. It's grit, the choice to rebuild on rubble. We drove to Rhonda that day, hands clasped over the gearshift, the gorge below a reminder of depths survived. Scarlett finished my portrait that fall, hanging it in a Seville gallery with a dedication. To light that lingers. Winter brought challenges. Visas expiring, families questioning from afar. But we faced them side by side, her art blooming with new color, my lessons infused with stories of second chances. We returned to the States together, settling in a creaky Victorian in Portland, where rain mirrors the storms we'd weathered. It's not perfect. Arguments flare like summer heat, doubts whisper in quiet hours. But every evening as we walk the waterfront, her hand in mine, I know. Love isn't the lock that traps you. It's the key you forge together. And in the end, that's the most American truth of all: reinvention, raw and relentless. Months blurred into the easy rhythm of us, but Spain had one last twist before we'd leave it behind. The village harvest festival arrived in October, a riot of lanterns strung across plazas, the air thick with roasted chestnuts and flamenco guitars strumming defiance. Scarlett insisted we go, her eyes alight with the mischief of locals who'd adopted her as their rogue American. It's our send-off, she said, pinning a carnation in my hair. One night to dance like the world's not watching. I hesitated, the Elena wound still tender, but her smile crooked, coaxing, won out. We dressed simply, me in a flowy white dress that caught the breeze like a sail, her in that leather jacket over a silk blouse, unbuttoned just enough to tease. The crowd swallowed us, bodies swaying to castanets, wine flowing freer than the Guadalquivir. For hours it was magic, Scarlett pulling me into spins, her laughter a melody against the chaos, whispers of Te Quiero lost in the music. Then the betrayal resurfaced, not as drama, but as quiet cruelty. Elena appeared at midnight, elegant in emerald silk, her presence parting the throng like a blade. She didn't approach, she didn't need to. A glance across the bonfire, loaded with possession, and Scarlett stiffened beside me, her hand slipping from mine. Go talk to her, I said, voice steady despite the knot in my gut. End it clean. She vanished into the shadows, minutes stretching into an eternity of forced smiles and small talk with villagers who sensed the shift. When she returned, her face was a storm cloud, eyes red-rimmed. It's over. For good. But the damage lingered, a chill settling between us as we walked home under a canopy of stars. That night, in the dim glow of her studio, truth spilled out. Not accusations but confessions. Scarlett paced, charcoal dust trailing her steps. Elena's not just an ex. She funded my first show, believed in me when I was a nobody scraping by in lofts. When I left, she followed, thinking she could buy me back with promises. Her voice cracked. I let her, Melody. Not physically but emotionally. I was scared of this. She gestured between us. Of something real. I sat on the worn rug, knees to chest, the weight of it pressing like the Atlas Mountains. And me? Am I just the rebound, the safe harbor till you sail away? No. She dropped to her knees fierce. You're the storm I want to chase. But I screwed up, kept her ghost alive because facing you meant facing myself. Admitting I'm worthy of this. Tears came then, hot and unbidden, mingling with hers as we clung. It wasn't fixed in a kiss. Romance demands reckoning. We talked till dawn, unpacking the baggage. My fear of abandonment rooted in a mother's early death, her terror of loss from a father's neglect. Human, messy, profoundly us. The high point came unexpectedly, 2 weeks later in the school auditorium, our origin now repurposed for a community art exhibit. Scarlett had submitted pieces anonymously, but I recognized her hand. A triptych of the cliffs, one panel storm-tossed, another sunlit, the third a bridge of light connecting them. The centerpiece? Our portrait, titled Locked In, Let Out. Visitors murmured, moved by the raw emotion in every brushstroke. Elena attended, uninvited, her face paling at the sight. She cornered Scarlett by the refreshment table, voice a venomous whisper. "This is her? The girl who trapped you in mediocrity?" Scarlett's reply was steel. "No. You did that, with your strings and expectations. Melody freed me." Elena stormed out, the door slamming like final punctuation. I watched from the wings, heart swelling, not with triumph but empathy. Betrayal cuts deep, but so does growth. That night we celebrated quietly. Figs from the market, wine from the hills, bodies entwined on the stage floor under moonlight slanting through cracked windows. It was romantic in its simplicity, emotional in its depth. Two women choosing each other amid the ruins. As leaves turned gold, preparations for America intensified. Visas stamped, flights booked to Seattle first, my turf, a test of our transplant. Scarlett sold her studio, the proceeds funding a shared dream. A small gallery in the Cascades, where her art could breathe amid evergreens. I resigned from the school, hugs from students bittersweet, Señor Ruiz grunting a rare buena suerte, as he handed over my final paycheck. But departure dredged doubts. On our last cliff walk, wind whipping like omens, Scarlett halted, gripping the fence. What if we fade across the ocean? What if I'm not enough for your rainy world? I turned her to face me, hands on her cheeks, tracing the lines time and trials had etched. Then we repaint. Together. It was our mantra now, born of drama, tempered by drama's forge. The flight was turbulent, mirroring the turbulence within, but landing in Seattle-Tacoma brought clarity. Evergreens sharp against slate skies, a homecoming laced with possibility. My sister's pickup waited, her embrace wary but warm. Brought back a souvenir, huh? Introducing Scarlett with a grin. Family dinners followed, tentative bridges over old divides. My parents' questions softening into stories of their own hidden loves. Winter in Portland was a revelation. Scarlett's sketches evolved, capturing the mist-shrouded bridges, the Willamette's moody flow. She found a studio in a converted warehouse, walls echoing with our laughter. I took a job at a community college, evenings spent planning hikes to Multnomah Falls, where water roared like applause. Yet, humanity's thread weaves fragility. Spring brought Scarlett's first U.S. show, a vulnerability that cracked her open. Critics praised, but one review, a barb from a New York Echo, revived Elena's specter. Reyes trades passion for domesticity. It hit like shrapnel, sending her spiraling into all-nighters. Canvases slashed in rage. I found her at 3 a.m. surrounded by wreckage, sobs shaking her frame. "I'm poison," she choked. "I'll ruin this too." "No." I pulled her close, rocking like a child. "You're human. And so am I. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to show up." Therapy followed, individual then joint, unpacking layers in a sunlit office overlooking the river. It was dramatic in its honesty. Tears over lost mothers, rages at absent fathers, the quiet fear that love could vanish like smoke. But each session built resilience, our bond a tapestry richer for the tears. Summer solstice, we drove the Oregon coast, windows down, salt air healing old wounds. At Cannon Beach, Haystack Rock sentinel against the tide, Scarlett proposed. Not with rings but sketches, two figures intertwined labeled ours. "Marry me?" she asked, voice steady. "Not in papers but in this life we make." I said yes, sealing it with salt-kissed lips, the ocean our witness. Now 2 years on, our Victorian creaks under the weight of canvases and bookshelves, a cat named Ruiz purring on the windowsill. Scarlett's gallery thrives, workshops drawing queer artists from afar. My classes buzz with stories of reinvention. Conflicts arise, bills bickering over whose turn for dishes, but they dissolve in compromise in the choice to stay. The janitor's lock was the beginning, a dramatic trap that freed us. In America's vast, flawed heart, where rain falls on second chances and love defies the odds, we've found our rhythm. Human, heartfelt, forever unfolding. Life in Portland wasn't all mist and mercy. America has its own tempests, cultural whirlwinds that test the soul. Scarlett's art, once a solitary rebellion, now navigated galleries where gatekeepers eyed her provocative themes. Women entwined in landscapes, subtext screaming queer joy, with polite skepticism. Too niche. One curator demurred over Chardonnay at an opening. "Broaden your palette." It stung, echoing the Spanish whispers, but Scarlett channeled it into fire. A series called Echoes Unlocked, Portraits of women from our village, layered with American icons. Statue of Liberty veils over flamenco skirts. I watched her thrive, even as it drained her. Mornings she'd rise before dawn, coffee steaming as brushes flew. Evenings she'd collapse into my arms, whispering doubts like prayers. Am I chasing shadows again? Our romance deepened in these quiet hours, lazy brunches of avocado toast and political rants over the Sunday Oregonian. Hikes where we'd pause to kiss against mossy trunks, her fingers tracing my collarbone like a map home. But betrayal's echo returned, not from Elena but from within. My family, ever the unwitting villains in my coming-out saga, planned a reunion in Seattle. Bring the girlfriend, Dad said gruffly over the phone, his voice a gravelly concession after years of strained holidays. Scarlett agreed, masking nerves with humor. If they serve turkey and tolerance, I'll survive. The drive north was light, playlists shuffling from Lucinda Williams to Rosalia. But the waterfront house loomed like judgment. My sister Claire hugged Scarlett fiercely. Love the jacket, total badass. But Mom's smile was tight, Dad's handshake lingering awkward. Dinner unfolded in fits. Laughter over old photos, then a lull where eyes darted to me, the unspoken, the gay daughter hanging like fog. A cracked post pie in the den amid leather-bound books. Mom cornered me by the fireplace. We're happy for you, honey. But, is this serious? You've always been so restless. Her words, meant soft, landed like barbs, implying my love for Scarlett was a phase, a foreign fling. I bristled, voice rising. Restless? Mom, I've built a life. With someone who sees me. Dad interjected, rum-soaked bluntness. Just worried you'll get hurt again. Like with that boy. Scarlett overheard from the kitchen, her face paling as she slipped out for air. I found her on the dock, staring at Ferry's slicing Puget Sound. They don't get it, she said, voice hollow. Or maybe I don't. What if I'm the phase? The exotic detour before you settle into their version of normal. Betrayal twisted then. Not hers but mine, in letting family ghosts invade our sanctuary. You're not a detour, I insisted, pulling her close, the water lapping like accusations. You're the road I choose. We left early, the reunion a casualty, but the drive back birthed honesty. Scarlett admitted her own fracture. A letter from her father postmarked Austin after 2 years' silence. He saw my show review. Wants to meet. Says he's proud. Pride laced with poison. His absence had forged her independence, but reconciliation dangled like bait. The conflict peaked in November, gray skies mirroring inner turmoil. Scarlett flew to Texas alone. Need to face this ghost solo. Leaving me to Portland's chill, our Victorian echoing empty. Days blurred. Classes on autopilot, walks where I'd text her memes to stave off worry. She returned changed, lighter yet haunted, bearing a faded photo. Father and teenage daughter at a rodeo, smiles strained. He apologized, she said over mulled wine by our hearth, for the drinking, the distance. But it doesn't erase the years I raised myself. I listened, holding space, but jealousy flickered, unbidden, ugly. And now? Is he in our life? She hesitated, eyes searching mine. I don't know. But I won't let him lock us out. That night, vulnerability crested. We made love slowly, not as conquest but communion. Bodies mapping forgiveness, breath sinking like waves. It was romantic, reverent. Her lips on my scars, my fingers in her hair, whispers of stay, weaving through moans softened by emotion. Spring thawed the ice, but drama demanded one final act. Scarlett's gallery show, Bridges, drew crowds, including a surprise. Elena, stateside for a conference, ticket in hand. She arrived polished, poised a weapon, congratulating Scarlett with a hug too lingering. I saw it from across the room. Acid rising, memories of the festival bonfire flashing. Confrontation brewed in the alley after, cigarette smoke curling as Elena cornered us. Still playing house? She sneered at me. She'll tire of the suburbs, darling. Scarlett stepped forward, voice thunder. Leave. This isn't your canvas anymore. Elena's laugh was brittle. Oh, but it was. I made her. No, Scarlett countered, hand finding mine. You broke her. Melody rebuilt me. Elena departed, heels clicking finality, but the encounter unearthed shrapnel. Scarlett spiraled, questioning her worth. What if she's right? What if I'm just borrowing your light? The climax unfolded on our balcony. Thunderstorm raging like the one in Spain. Rain lashed the railings, lightning etching her face in stark relief. I can't lose you, she cried, fists clenched. But I can't keep fearing I will. I pulled her inside, towels and tea, words pouring like the deluge. Then stop running. We're not locked doors, we're open skies. We wept, raged, then quieted, humanity's raw edge where love sharpens through pain. From ashes rose renewal. Scarlett incorporated the encounter into art. A mixed media piece, specters on the sill, Elena's shadow dissolving into our intertwined forms. It sold to a queer collective in San Francisco, validation pouring in. Summer brought balance. A road trip through the Badlands, Scarlett sketching petroglyphs, me narrating ghost stories from my phone. We visited her father in a dusty diner, conversation halting but hopeful. No grand hugs, just shared pie and call anytime. My family? Claire became our ally, hosting brunches where mom's questions evolved into curiosity. Tell me about Spain. By fall, our life hummed, wedding plans casual. A backyard affair with wildflowers and vinyl spinning Billie Holiday. Vows exchanged under oaks. In storms and stillness, I choose you. It's not without friction. Arguments flare over exhibit deadlines clashing with my grading, or whose turn to call estranged kin. But each discord deepens us, a drama resolved in dialogue, romance rekindled in small gestures. A sketched note in my lunch, a playlist for her commute. Scarlett's latest series, American Exiles, captures it. Women in vast landscapes, not lost but found, queer hearts staking claim in a land of reinvention. Critics call it poignant, human, I call it us. And in quiet evenings, her head on my shoulder, Portland's lights twinkling below, I know. Betrayal's sting fades but love's echo endures. Forever a bridge, never a lock. 2 years into our Portland chapter, the world conspired to test our foundations, not with thunder, but the slow erosion of time. Scarlett's gallery expanded. A satellite space in Eugene, drawing artists from the Bay. Her name whispered in art circles from Brooklyn to Big Sur. Success brought its shadows. Late nights curating, travel for residencies, the hum of validation that pulled her westward while I anchored east, grading papers under desk lamps. Romance sustained us, surprise picnics in Forest Park, her painting my nails crimson as we binge-watched the L-Word reruns, laughing at anachronisms. But emotion simmered beneath. Her growing restlessness, sketches piling unfinished, a far-off gaze during dinners. It's nothing, she'd say, kissing my temple. Just the itch to create bigger. I recognized it, the same wanderlust that lured me to Spain. Yet doubt crept, a whisper. Was I the steady harbor or the chain? The spark ignited in spring. Cherry blossoms carpeting streets like confetti from a half-remembered party. Scarlett landed a fellowship in Santa Fe. 3 months, Adobe Studios, luminarias at dusk. Come weekends, she urged, eyes bright. We'll make it an adventure. I agreed, but work chained me. Semester deadlines, a promotion dangling. She left in May, our goodbye at the airport tender. Hugs lingering, promises texted hourly. At first it was bliss. Photos of turquoise skies, voice notes laced with "miss your laugh." Then gaps widened, days without replies, excuses of spotty Wi-Fi. Betrayal arrived subtly, via a mutual friend's inadvertent slip. Claire, scrolling Instagram at our weekly coffee, paused. Scarlett's in that group show down south? With, whoa, that curator looks familiar. Elena, smiling beside Scarlett at the opening. Arms linked in professional ease. Captions gushing, reignited collaborations. My stomach plummeted. Not physical, Scarlett swore it later, but emotional, the old flame fanned by proximity. Shared histories Scarlett had buried but not burned. Calls turned accusatory. Why her? After everything. It's work, Mel. Nothing more. But her defensiveness cracked the facade. The climax crashed during my solo visit, driving through deserts that mirrored my aridity. Santa Fe welcomed with Adobe warmth, but Scarlett's loft felt foreign. Canvases of fiery sunsets, Elena's influence in bold strokes. Dinner at a rooftop taqueria. Laughter forced, touches tentative. Elena joined unannounced, wine glass in hand, toast dripping subtext. To old friends and new inspirations, she purred, eyes on Scarlett. I excused myself early, fleeing to the hotel, tears hot on the steering wheel. Scarlett followed at midnight, pounding the door. Let me in. Inside, drama unfolded raw. Furniture shoved aside, voices rising over the AC's hum. You promised no ghosts. I hurled, voice breaking. But you invited her back. She crashed the show. I didn't. Scarlett stopped, deflating. Okay, I didn't push her away hard enough. Because part of me missed the chaos. The validation. With you it's real but safe. And safe scares me. Truth landed like monsoon rain, washing illusions. I sank to the bed, spent. Safe? That's what I fought for, is steady against the storms. But if chaos is you, then maybe I'm the trap. We talked till sunrise, peeling layers. Her fear that domesticity dulled her edge, my terror that love meant loss. Human frailty laid bare. No villains, just two women grappling with growth. I choose us, she vowed finally, hand over heart. But I need to integrate the wild, not suppress it. Forgiveness dawned tentative, a pact. Boundaries with Elena, full no contact. Therapy resumed, and a joint project, me writing captions for her Santa Fe series, blending words and worlds. She returned early, fellowship truncated, our Victorian welcoming with open arms. Summer healed. Couples retreats in the Olympics, where counselors unpacked attachment styles over herbal teas. Lazy floats on the sandy river, her sketching my sun-dappled form. Romance rekindled softly. Notes in sketchbooks, dances in the kitchen to Coltrane. Fall brought catharsis. Scarlett's solo exhibit, Unchained Horizons, debuted in Port. Crowds swelled, queer families and allies mingling, toasts to resilience. My toast, mic in hand. To locks that teach us keys and loves that set us free. Reviews hailed it transformative. Sales funded a sabbatical. We honeymooned in the Southwest, not as escape but embrace. Hiking slot canyons, Scarlett capturing petroglyph lovers in charcoal. Me journaling our whispers under star-pricked skies. Back home life deepened. I earned tenure, channeling Spain's lessons into curricula on global queer narratives. Scarlett mentored young artists, her wildness channeled into community murals. Conflicts persist, her impulse to roam clashing with my nesting. Family holidays a minefield of microaggressions, but we navigate with tools. Weekly check-ins, wild nights of spontaneous drives. Claire's wedding that winter sealed our circle. Bridesmaids in mismatched gowns, Scarlett's speech. Love isn't a still life, it's a living canvas, drawing cheers and my misty eyes. Mom danced with us, tentative steps toward alliance. Now 3 years post-Spain our home brims. Ruiz the cat batting at drying canvases. A nursery corner hinting at future adoptions. Queer family expanding. Mornings, coffee shared on the porch, her head on my shoulder. Portland awakening below. Drama fades to backstory, emotion to foundation, romance to ritual. We've betrayed and been betrayed, conflicted and consoled, but emerged human, flawed, fierce, forever choosing. In America's mosaic where reinvention is religion, we've painted our arc, from locked despair to unlocked dawn. And if another storm brews, we'll weather it together, keys in hand, hearts wide. The end? Not quite. Just the next stroke.